Welcome to Permission to Thrive. I'm your host, Suzi Lula. As a spiritual therapist for over 20 years, I have the honor and privilege of ushering women and mothers just like you on a journey from simply surviving to powerfully thriving. I also have the honor of raising our son, Will, who is now a young adult, with my longtime partner, Jamie, so I'm right there on the journey with you. Consider this your personal sanctuary, your space to meet your heart, embrace your messy, and come home to your most authentic, extraordinary self. My hope is that you leave resourced and inspired because you are here to shine. Welcome to Permission to Thrive. Welcome, Thrivers. I'm so excited for you to hear this authentic and powerful conversation with my dearest friend and esteemed colleague, Dr. Shefali. So for any of you who do not know Dr. Shefali yet, she received her doctorate in clinical psychology from Columbia University, specializing in the integration of Western psychology and Eastern philosophy. She brings together the best of both worlds for her clients. She's an expert in family dynamics and personal development, teaching courses around the globe. She's written 4 books, 3 of which are New York Times bestsellers, including her 2 landmark books, The Conscious Parent and The Awakened Family. She also has written Radical Awakening, Out of Control, and her newest book, The Parenting Map. And in this conversation, we talk about what it really looks like to thrive, which may surprise you, why it's so challenging for us to give ourselves permission to thrive, and why it's equally important that we do so. And Dr. Shefali shares vulnerably and powerfully about her own personal journey, her life lessons, and how she navigates them. We talk about why sisterhood and community and women rising up into our power is so important at this time in history. We talk about our online holistic community of women called LUMINOUS. We talk about Shefali's annual conference, Evolve. And we talk about what you can do to live your life to its fullest right now. So sit back, relax, get a cup of tea. This is your time. This is your sanctuary. Receive it all and enjoy. So welcome, everyone. As I said in the introduction, I am so excited to get to be here in conversation with you. Shefali, my dearest, dearest friend. As I said in the intro, we also run the most beautiful, holistic online women's community together called LUMINOUS, which we'll talk about. And I know you to be one of the most passionate, mission-driven individuals, I think, on planet Earth right now. So I'm just so grateful. You're a soul sister. You are so generous and real and vulnerable. And I'm so grateful to be in conversation with you. So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. Congratulations on this new baby of yours and this new adventure. It's always such a leap to start something new. So I applaud you, and I know you're going to be so amazing at this.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate that and all of your encouragement for a long time to birth this and make it happen. So I'm eternally grateful. And so we'll jump right in. As you obviously know, it's called Permission to Thrive. So I thought we would start by just, what does thrive mean to you when you hear that word?
It's difficult to thrive, right? It's more than just living. It's definitely more than surviving. To thrive means to be in an optimal moment, optimal environment, optimal relationship. So I think to thrive means optimum, at your optimum level, meaning conditions are really fruitful and fruit bearing for the person. And I think that we go through seasons of thriving, and then seasons of just surviving, and then seasons of just calm. And it's okay to go through seasons. I remember moments and seasons in my life where I was not thriving, but I was creating the conditions to thrive later. So you can't constantly thrive, I think. I mean, that's like high level living, because life is going to knock you down. You're going to have issues with your children. But again, if we can understand that to thrive doesn't mean you have to manifest the ultimate thriving, but you're leaning and moving toward that at all times. You're always pruning the environment, pruning the inner world to get to that state of ultimate thriving. What do I need to thrive? And I think for me, I need support around me, true sisters. I need compassion, and I need, freedom. I think that's it. I don't really think it needs to come from one partner or one lifestyle or one career. I think it's an ambiance of support, compassion, and freedom that for me would be the ultimate optimum environment.
Mm. I so appreciate what you're saying, especially the parts where you're talking about pruning and setting up the conditions. And for everyone listening, to hear that this isn't about some external constant state that you're striving for. More, when I think of it, I often think of it as an inner sense of some setting up conditions. And that's why I love the word thrive, because to me, I hear that my outer life may be sending me whatever chapters I'm going through, but inside of myself, I have the dominion to the best of my ability to be creating these conditions like you're talking about. So the pruning and the fertilizing and the conditions. So I really appreciate.
And part of that means pruning the weeds out and culling out the toxicities and burning through the dysfunction. And that process is never pleasurable. It's always inducing of some pain. So we have to understand that to create the optimum environment to thrive, it means going through the shadow, doing the shadow work, getting rid of that which hides behind the shadow, and bringing things to light. So people need to be aware it's a process, it's a journey of arriving at constant states of thriving and then weaning off them and then coming back into them.
Yeah. And again, what you're saying is so important, because you're shifting the perspective from the external, trying to get it from a relationship or our children's behaviors, or it has nothing to do with that external. What you're saying is it's this internal pruning and letting go of the weeds and sifting through the weeds. And it's the internal work that sometimes doesn't seem so glamorous on the outside, but is what is ultimately the fruitful. When you use the word freedom also before, to me, it's like that's the ultimate freedom and liberation, when I'm willing to, traverse all the different areas of my own consciousness. And there's no part of my consciousness that I'm not in relationship with, even if it's messy.
Yes,
So,
yes. So it's a 360 embrace of yourself, and that's why I said, compassion, freedom, support. You want to be yourself, right? That is the ultimate thriving. Is
right.
how can I be surrounded by people for whom I can just be ordinary, vulnerable, authentic, and don't have to keep showing up with a farce or with somebody I've not yet arrived at. Even though your greatest self is out there and you're not manifesting your greatest self, to thrive means to be allowed the freedom to manifest your not yet greatest self.
Yes. So that just brings me to my next question, because, I think what I'm hearing you say is life is going to bring us whatever it brings us on the external. But if I have compassion and freedom and surround myself with sisters and support, then I have that dominion. I don't have the dominion always of what life brings to me, but I have the dominion of what I can do with it. And so if we have that freedom, then I'm just always so interested in, why do you think, oh, and the other thing you said that's so important is about living authentically and not living as a farce, as you're saying. So I'm always so interested, why do you think that that is so challenging for us to give ourselves permission to live that authentic life on our own terms in a way that is masked off, you know?
Right. I think it's because we've been conditioned to follow. And we've been told that when you follow, you'll get the reward and the dividend and the payoff of your parents' approval or the group's approval and stamp of validation. So then if we are to be authentic, and that means steering away, finding our own path, following our own voice, however messy, murky, chaotic that is, we immediately feel like we're committing treason because we were so bound and dependent on the other in almost a sycophantic, passive aggressive, very preying way. They preyed on us, we preyed on them for our identity and our worth. And the system was fused and enmeshed. So liberated personal sovereignty was not honored. And so when we do step into that, I think we feel this anxiety that we're literally committing a crime and it's not okay. And even in our love relationships, so-called love relationships or friendships, or with our children, we do the same kind of fusion, entanglement, enmeshment, and overdependence and ownership. Because I think we were owned and our inner voice was owned. So we just think it natural to own the voice of others or the freedom of others. And so we keep in these codependent, dysfunctional relationships, trying to find who we are through the other. Now, there's no better way to find out who you are except through the other, but we shouldn't just stop there. We shouldn't just be with the other to rely on the other giving us a sense of self. We need to see who it is we can become with the other, but do it independently without using the other as a proxy or surrogate for that inner work.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is so important. It's a complete paradigm shift. So if what I think I'm hearing you say is that we were once owned, and especially as women, our voices were suppressed. So if we once were experiencing that, then that is what we have been modeled. And
Yes.
that is what we then, until we shift that. And so what you're saying is that then a paradigm shift would be relationships between two equals, and really looking that I have to take my own personal responsibility, that I'm in a relationship, but I'm not seeking anything from that relationship to make me whole. So I'm an equal, but also that other person is an equal. So I don't have the dominion to, treat them as submersive or subdominant. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, we are each equal. And when we have come from a culture of power, taking on that inner equality, I think for me anyway, it has been a journey, both to take that responsibility and rise up, not allow my light to dim, but also not think that I have any power over any other individual.
Yeah, and it's tricky because that requires so much inner work. It requires undoing old patterns. But that's why each relationship we're in is a mirror to exactly lead us down this path of inner work if we choose to use it as that. And that's why we should have many different relationships, friendships, sisterhoods, parent-child relationships, relatives, lovers, because each one gives us a different kaleidoscopic view of parts of ourselves that still need to be healed. And so it's a wonderful opportunity, these relationships, to discover the broken parts of ourselves and then to grow.
Yeah.
That's how, through the relationships, through the years, we can come closer and closer to more sustainable thriving.
Yes.
That's women in their 50s and 60s learn to, give to F's, because they're learning what it means to create an autonomous, thriving ambiance for themselves. And they don't need to rely on other people to do that. And that's why growing older has its power and benefit. As long as we women can stay away from feeling bad about it, because culture tells us we are old and that's something we should fight. I think becoming older is the most precious gift of it all. We've raised our children for the most part, if we have children. We've tried our different careers. We're not so lost and broken. And now we can finally, like you say, thrive. Now we give ourselves the permission to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like this is really the heart of all of your teachings. And you are just such a mission-driven, devoted individual of wanting to share these teachings that really are saying all of your relationships, be it with your child, be it with your in-laws, be it with a friend or a coworker, are all reflections of ourselves. And then to take it on to do this inner work, because when we do take it on to do the inner work, we are the ones that are liberated, right? And so I know this to be your passion. Obviously, I know you, you're my dearest friend, and I know that you have gone through in your own journey, you have been at the receiving end of judgment. You're a public figure. There's judgment. You have experienced betrayal. You went through a divorce. I'm just wondering, how did you navigate some of those things? And was it challenging for you in the face of the different relationships or events?
Well, I think, we are all mortified of people judging us negatively, right? Most judgment is negative. And when I was going through my divorce, one of the first things that was a barrier was, what will people say, right? And I heard that voice, but I know that voice is the snake of my ego. It's the voice of a false self that's worried about false ideals. And so I was able to watch that and keep watching it and keep taming it and realizing it's not a true voice, it's a false voice. What will people say? What will others say, right? All of us have that ingrained in us. But who are the others? And what will they say? And how will you even know? And what are they saying now? And who said what they're saying now is correct? And do you need to know what they're saying? And do you need them to say things about you that you care about? Or why do you need to care about it? So once you begin to deconstruct this notion of judgment from strangers and people who don't know you, you begin to realize it's your imagination. You've been, conditioned to care about these things, but you don't have to care about these things because these things are careless. They don't have care in them. They're careless. They don't have care in them. So if they don't have care in them, why are we projecting care? So people judge. They've judged you. They've judged me. Right now, 10 people could be talking about us. And even if it's positive, it could be full of lies. Even if it's negative, it could be full of lies. We don't know it. We have no control. So ultimate freedom comes when you release that attachment to wanting people to like you, to wanting people to think well of you, to wanting people to highly regard you. My entire 30s was, till my 40s, was dominated by wanting people to think highly of me. And not just highly, like they needed to think that I was near perfect, right? This idealism that we were the ultimate good girls and we are the ultimate, lovely people. And so I was dominated by that. I don't know about you, but then when we grow older, we realize that that is something unattainable. And we grow more comfortable with people not liking us. And I think a big job of us as women, we owe it to us, to ourselves, is to let go of this need to have everybody like us, approve of us, including our children, including our mothers, including our partners, right? So we have to let go of this need for people to see us in the way that we want them to see us, and let it go, smash it, demolish it. And when you let that need go, you suddenly are left with this freedom. So once I could work through that, I realized that, my path is my path and my path only. And the only person who's living my path is me. So if I'm going to let other people live my path for me, I will lose out on this one invaluable life.
Mm.
I either claim it or I sell it for real cheap. And sell it for what? For real cheap, real cheap. And so I decided to claim it. And I can tell you, I don't think I heard a single negative thing once I went through my divorce. I didn't hear it. I'm sure it was there. I'm sure it's still there, but I didn't hear it. I only got support. I got a welcome sign. I got open archways because I wasn't listening for that vibration. I was so clear and so authentic and so claiming my truth. And I knew why I was doing it. I knew how I was doing it. I took my long time to do it. I didn't make a decision rashly. So yes, did it come with pain? Absolutely. Did it come with torment and emotional anxiety and torture? Of course. These decisions are never easy. You're undoing generations or decades of a relationship. It's never easy. But when you do it slowly and you do it conscientiously and consciously, it is definitely easier. And then what the payoff at the end of it is, wow, if I could go through that and I'm intact and I'm thriving and I'm in fact doing better, then now I'm not afraid of my imagination and my fears of what will come tomorrow. You become indomitable to some degree. And it's an amazing thing to witness. It's an amazing opportunity to give yourself the chance to try the most scariest thing in the world and find out that you can be okay. And it's just invaluable. I'm not recommending everyone to go get a divorce. I'm just saying to meet your imaginary fears and to go for them and actually go through it and see how you can survive is just an incredible, indescribable. Okay, let me say that again. It's just an unbelievable, invaluable, indescribable achievement of valor. And you get to see yourself as a warrior that you may never have if you didn't allow yourself to lean into that fear. So, and then, I've been betrayed by very close people. And that brings up a whole other, jar of lessons that are also invaluable. You begin to understand that it's okay to have red flags. It's okay to honor red flags. It's okay to break off relationships. With the person who betrayed me, I saw red flags, but I was always nullifying them because we as women have been told to not follow our voice, right? So it's very hard for us to believe in ourselves. And then it's very hard for us to sever relationships. So I kept trying to, modify the relationship and create nuances when in fact and create excuses when in fact I should have simply severed the relationship. So yes, it comes at a high price, these lessons, but that's what life is about. It gives you lessons at high prices. But if you're willing to endure the cost of your lessons, you can truly grow. And that's what life is all about at the end of the day. It's just about growing. There is no perfect destination. There is no fancy number in your bank account. There is no perfect relationship. It's just about you growing. And I think the ultimate destination from growth is freedom, is where you give, two F's about anything and you truly live your own life. And that's a beautiful place indeed.
Yeah. Well, I'm I'm pretty much tearing up just listening to you. I'm so full of appreciation for your willingness to be so vulnerable. And I'll tell you why for many reasons. But one of the reasons I really wanted to do this podcast is because obviously we live in such an Instagram culture. And I think it's so easy for people to scroll through and see different wisdom teachers and project onto you or someone like you, oh, you never have to go through anything, that, oh, your life just somehow magically happens. And on Instagram, we see the pictures, when someone's on a stage or you're in your element and doing what you do. And I really am deeply appreciative of your sharing, because my hope for anyone listening is to recognize that what we see out there is not the whole picture. And so to hear you say someone like Dr. Shefali, who is so esteemed, and not to take any of that away from you, you're so esteemed and you're my teacher, and I learn so much from you anytime I'm in your presence. And to hear that you said, and the other thing brought you a whole different jar of lessons, And so to hear you say that, yeah, you were nervous at first of what people were going to say about you, or perhaps getting judgment. And yet you had the persistence to work through that inside of yourself. And then you get the gold at the end of the rainbow, which is your own self-liberation. You are in a place now in consciousness because you traversed that journey, and you chose to traverse it in the way that you did. You took it on. But I'm just appreciating how you are showing the complete picture and context that we don't often get to see or hear.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody can claim to be a wisdom teacher or a teacher, period, especially of the kind of lessons we try to teach, if they haven't had a few lessons and really lived life and explored themselves, their sexuality, their identity, their worth, their cultural norms. If they haven't challenged themselves, then they aren't going to be able to relate to people and truly meet people where they are. You have to be humble, and humility comes through pain. So if one is on a pedestal, untouchable, never having gone through the angst and turmoil of regular life, one can only teach that much. You can only teach what you've actually been through, right? Yes. I talk about the ceiling of healing. If your ceiling of healing is low, because you haven't really gone through much, you're not going to be able to help heal other people. So I'm very grateful for the pain I've gone through, because it makes me humble, it makes me ordinary, it makes me just a regular girl. And therefore, I can talk to the person on the street and they can feel like I relate to them. Mm-hmm. I definitely don't want to ever pretend that I'm on a pedestal, untouchable, because that is such a disservice to myself, because it's a lie, and a disservice to anyone who meets me, because it's a lie.
Yes, absolutely. And you actually don't ever do that. I'm just suggesting it's our culture that we do that as a culture. Right. And I love what you're saying about your own journey, and we can assist another to the degree that we have done our own inner work, is basically what I think I'm hearing you say. And I always feel that way myself. I always say that there's not a client that can sit in front of me that I can't say, if I can do it, you can do it, because I've been right down there, in the trenches. So I'm appreciating what you're saying. And it just brings me so beautifully to another area that I would just love to talk about with you, which is our beautiful Luminous community. I mentioned we have an online women's holistic community. It's called Luminous. And you were speaking about your own inner journey and the importance of that inner journey. And what I found, and I'm sure you have this too with your clients, I have clients all day long doing this work and yet feeling like such an island, feeling so alone, not even thinking that Dr. Shefali might be feeling some of these same things, or Suzi, Lula would be feeling some of these same things. And people can feel like such an island and so alone and lonely in this culture. And so, for me, I love being in sisterhood. And I would love to hear you speak to what you believe is the importance of sisterhood and women's growth and evolution at this time on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, when I first thought of Luminous, I thought of you and I wanted to include you because that's what we women need to do. We need to raise each other up. We need to share the gifts and the bounty and the spotlight. And I have, including you, a wonderful women's community, a group of beautiful women, a team around me. And I couldn't do without this team that you all are. And we need each other to stand in solidarity, not against anybody, not against men, but to stand in union for ourselves, with each other, and with our men. And when we stop competing with each other, and we actually can give each other bounty and shared winnings and shared prizes and shared light, then actually we can stand in union with our brothers. But when we're so busy competing with each other for the attention of men or the attention out there, we are actually cutting each other in half, including ourselves. So it is when a woman tells another woman that she's so beautiful, or she's so worthy, or she's so amazing, or she's so powerful, she doesn't realize that she's taking nothing from her. She's actually adding to her. Because when we stop competing with each other, we actually stop being in anxiety. Our anxiety is from each other, right? You and I have talked about this ad nauseum, that we don't feel any pressure from men to look a certain way. We feel pressure from other women to look a certain way. When we get ready and we go out, it's not men who are looking at us, it's women who are looking at us and critiquing us. Most of my haters are women. The person who betrayed me was a woman, a quote unquote sister. So let's change this narrative amongst ourselves and start realizing that the first enemy we need to kill, we need to demolish, we need to dissolve is the enemy within us and with, inter and intra. It's us as women that we need to change the narrative. Let's stop waiting for men. Let's stop blaming men, because we do enough damage and harm to ourselves, and we need to start changing that narrative. We can all be beautiful. We can all be stunning in our own way. And one's beauty cannot take away from another's. One's success cannot take away from another's. And that is when the narrative will change in our world. And men will not have a chance. Men already know this. We don't know this. We haven't stepped into our power. And, at my annual summit, which you're a part of, Evolve, it's women who come. Why? And most of the consciousness summits have women in them, because it's we who are the heralders of change and the harbingers of growth for our families, for our culture, for the earth. And, at home, it's the woman. I'm sorry. It's her energy that rules the roost, and it's her emotional vibration that raises the child, really. So we women need to own it. We need to claim it and celebrate it. And that's when, the whole dynamic between males and females and this inequality will begin to change.
Exactly. It is when we decide to rise up within ourselves and value ourselves and value each other, that then we will have risen up as equals. We will have risen up. So I so appreciate what you're saying. It's so accurate and it's so time. You alluded to this earlier when you were talking about the benefits of getting older. And I so agree with you on that. It's the older I get, the more I realize how fleeting life is. The older I get, the more I realize I have basically a nanosecond here, and I want to make the most of it. I don't want to miss my own nanosecond. I want to really stand in my life fully, unabashedly, unapologetically, and authentically. And I want to then, from that place, be able to share that and celebrate my sisters, celebrate men, celebrate from a place of fullness. So I'm appreciating what you're saying. And also, research shows, when you talk about evolve, luminous, research shows that we evolve more quickly, we evolve more effectively when we evolve in community with like-minded people. So I think both, because being in community allows us to transform, and also because people can feel so alone when you're not connected to community. You can think that there are not like-minded people around you. And like you were saying, one of the things that's assisted you getting through different challenges is the support that you have around you. So it's
and that's why we created Luminous, so that, and we have almost 1,000 members. Suzi and I meet every week, and we every week for 30 minutes. Whenever I tell people that, they're like, what, every week? No, a subscription community meets every week. We meet every week. So if people want to join, they can join right now, and they can go to drshefali.com or suzilula.com and join Luminous. It's just $25 a month. And you get us every single week. We get guest experts. We do fasts together. We do cleanses together. We do exercises together. We change our diet. We meditate. We talk about money. We talk about career. We talk about purpose. We talk about our children. And every month or so is a new topic. And it's phenomenal for just $25 a month. And you see Suzi and me as our real selves. And the reason we created Luminous is so that women don't feel alone, and that they can push themselves forward by other forward-thinking women, that they will challenge themselves more because they are around a group of fierce women, that they will take more risks because they are around more courageous women who are leading their own lives and forging their own way. If you are not surrounding yourself with models, you actually will stagnate and wither away. So Luminous is a community of strong women led by Suzi and me, where you will be inspired to live your best life. We forget, we go back into a rut, we go back into our patterns. That's why you and I meet with them every single week, because we stay on top of our patterns, we break them, we change them, we transcend them, because we need to be reminded. Otherwise, we all become lethargic and stagnate and go back into status quo. So these daily reminders on Facebook, every week when we meet with them on Zoom, keeps the machine going, keeps us fueled. Every time I leave a Luminous talk with you, I feel like I'm a better person, because I recommit to my healthy eating, I recommit to moving, I recommit to meditation, I recommit to abundance. And this is what Luminous is about. It's daily and weekly recommitments to living our best life. So it's so important. And then my annual summit Evolve is a greater gathering, right? 500-600 women come in, mostly women, come in person. And why is that so important? Because you have to take yourself out of your stagnant routine and put yourself in another island, on another island, just for 4 or 5 days, like Evolve is. Take a break from your regular routine and throw yourself into a new learning environment. And I do it once a year. And it's so important for us to give ourselves that 5-day retreat out of your routine, because you get out of your comfort zone. You are a little bit scared, a little bit nervous. You're meeting new people, and I'm challenging you, and Suzi and I are doing things with you that scare you, but that's how you grow new wings. So if anyone is listening and is inspired to be part of Suzi's and my community, join us at Luminous, join us at Evolve. I'll be posting about that very soon. It's every year. But basically what we're trying to say is put yourself in circles of support, compassion, and freedom. Put yourself in circles where you are inspired to grow. There is always someone who's doing something better than you. Don't be scared of that. Lean into that. Learn from that. I love being inspired by women who are doing something that I'm not doing. I want to learn. I want to stretch. I want to be better. And that's what our communities are all about. So thank you for doing this as well, because this is what your podcast is about too.
This is exactly why I want to do this podcast, because our time is now. Our time is now. And so, ditto to everything that you said. Hang on one second. I'm so lit up by everything that you're saying. This is exactly how I feel also after every single Luminous call. And this is how I feel when I'm in the room at Evolve. Like there's something electric about being in a room with 500 other people, and the same on our Luminous calls, people from all over the world, to be in community with people who are like-minded, who want to be lifted up. I'm lifted up by every one of our Luminous members, you know? So it's time for us as sisters, as women, to lift each other up, to be inspired by each other. Our lives are so short. It's like, this is our moment. This is our time. So yes, there is that. I've also heard you say, and I might be misquoting you, but I've heard you say something to the effect of, like, I love myself too much to not do this, right? And I really want to leave everyone with that encouragement. Like, how much are you willing to love yourself? How much can you, and it might be the smallest of stretches today, you know, but that small little stretch that you would then say, I love myself too much to not invest XYZ into myself. Anything you want to share about that? And then my last question for you is about your mission. You know, as I mentioned in the introduction, you're a prolific author. Every one of your books I have highlighted, you know, in many different colored highlights. I go back, I read your books often in different ages and stages of my life, because I'm a different person coming back to your work. I know you to be also prolific in your online classes. You have an amazing coaching program, a coaching institute, where you certify other people to do what you're doing, to spread this around the globe. So I would love for you to, first of all, I'm interrupting myself. First of all, I'd love to say to everyone listening, please do yourself a favor, take the time. I know we're all busy. Take the time to go to drshefali.com and see what calls to you, because you are prolific. You do have many different offerings. So I'd love for you to speak to any of the offerings that you're on fire with right now, but also now that you have been really seasoned in doing this work, and you have deep roots now, and you have coaches out there, you know, also in this world, I'm just so interested. Are you optimistic? What do you see about the present, the future? What is your vision? Anything around that neighborhood, that area? What lights you up moving forward? What keeps you, you know, lit up? Excuse me.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think that what lights me up is just what I'm doing right now, and more of it. More writing, more teaching. My institute was a real surprise, because I never intended for it to be so successful. And it has now trained over 1,000 coaches all around the world to become certified, like you said, to do what I do. So if people want to learn how to do what I do, I teach you how to do it. It's online, it's 5 months. I think more books, more community, more spreading it around the globe. I think that's just such a lovely opportunity I have to reach women and parents, to help them transform themselves and their lives. So it's just such a gift to be able to spread this with you and with others like you. So thank you for having me, and for all the work that you do, Suzi. You do an amazing job as well. So people should go to SuziLula.com.
But I thank you. I thank you for that. And now everyone can see why I have been so excited about this conversation, introducing you to anyone who hasn't yet gotten the opportunity to really be up close and personal with you, because you are just the most generous, real, authentic, on fire woman that I know, and I'm honored to call you a friend and so grateful that you are here. So thank you. Here's to many, many, many more conversations.
Yes, indeed.
All right, everyone, give yourself permission to thrive this week. Much love and see you next week. I hope you are leaving as inspired as I am after this rich conversation with Dr. Shefali. If something touched you in this episode, I would so appreciate it if you would subscribe so you can be alerted about new episodes just like this, and if you would leave a 5-star review. And if something touched you in this episode, I would so appreciate it if you would share this episode with someone who you think might appreciate it. This is the way that we spread this message of thriving over planet Earth right now in history. It will assist this message to reach more people who really need it right now in their lives. Thank you so much, and much love, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If there was something in this conversation that spoke to you, we'd so appreciate it if you would take the time to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share this episode with women and mothers you know, because you are here to thrive. See you next time.